Good evening, Twin Counties. Josh Wolf is joined as always by Foster Lander. Week 2 of conference play, our third Telegram Basketball Insiders video. Foster, you were off on the high school beat tonight. You were off at Wesleyan, so I'll kind of quickly catch you up on what happened around the Twin Counties. Northern Nash, relatively easy sweep. They had a little bit of issues in the boys' game against Southern Nash, but I don't think we're surprised with the girls dominating that game. Nash Central, a big sweep at Wilson Fike. We'll get into the Bulldogs a bit later. And Rocky Mount split with Wilson Hunt. Girls defeating the Warriors, but the male Griffons still looking for their first win this season. It was not going to come tonight. In Wilson, Southwest Edgecomb's girls, a big win for them at Farmville Central. We were talking yesterday as we were doing our picks. I said, they were due for a big game, and they had a big game tonight against the Jaguars, and the boys just got killed by undefeated Farmville Central. So that's not that. Tarboro was down 20 points in the fourth quarter. They came back to win 90-76. Tarboro's girls not as successful. They lost by about 20, I believe. Rocky Mount Prep lost 80-44. And I'm just going to assume their girls lost. We didn't get a official score, but they are winless. So I do not have high hopes for the Jaguars against a very good Riverside girls team. So that's what happened in the Twin Counties basically. But we're going to skip that. We're going to look at Tuesday, because Tuesday Northern Nash hosts Nash Central. It's a pair of 2-0 teams in girls basketball. The only 2 undefeated teams left in the Big East. But we're going to talk about the guys' game, because I think that's going to be the most interesting, at least to me, because we looked at Northern Nash beat Nash Central in the Christmas tournament. You were there covering that game. And since that time, Nash Central has just been on a tear. They've won 5 of their last 6. They've won their first 2 games in the Big East, including a big win tonight against Wilson Fike. How much different do you think this Bulldogs team is heading into Tuesday's matchup than they were when we saw them last month in the Christmas tournament?
Well, I think the big thing is that they've continued to get some really good play from Elijah Cole. He had a good game in that championship game against Northern Nash. It wasn't quite enough in the end, but they've continued to get big play from him. He had a big night against Rocky Mount High, which it's Rocky Mount High and they're winless. But they've found something in him. Josh Mullins is probably the best player in the conference, and then guys like Kashun Peoples. And they've really kind of just start to figure out what they are and what they do well. They're not very big, but they can get out and run. And if they do that, and if they're able to hit enough threes, then it's a dangerous Nash Central team.
You talk, obviously, they can hit enough threes. They like to press. They like to put pressure on them. Is that a sustainable formula for them over these next 8 games of the Big East season? And I guess basically, is this a team that can go from a dark horse to now maybe even a potential favorite in that conference?
I think it is, and teams obviously know what they're getting into when they're playing Nash Central, but Nash Central does what they do well. They don't try to play outside of themselves. They don't try to do too much with what they have. I'm not convinced that it's a team that can win 7, 8, 9 conference games, but I don't see why they can't continue doing what they've been doing.
I will say, in fairness, I don't think any of the Big East teams are going to win 7. This is one of those conferences that it's going to be a dogfight every single week. And we could definitely see a champion at 6-4, 7-3, which I think is going to be interesting. I'm going to talk a little bit. Do you have any thoughts on this girls' game? You look at Northern Nash, obviously having been the class of the conference for the most part, outside of their 1 or 2 years where Jakira Brown and Rocky Mount High got the better of them. Do you see, a shot for Nash Central to potentially pull off an upset on the road?
I think so. It's not quite the same Northern Nash team that it was last year, but Nash Central looked good against Rocky Mount High last week, and so I think they have a chance. But Northern Nash still, I would consider the favorite. I'll defer to you on the girls' game there.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things talking with Coach Battle, Grover Battle after the game, he said, the fact that they were able to just practice over winter break. They were playing so many games in November and December that they didn't really have a lot of time to just practice what they were doing. So they spent the 2 weeks of break really practicing, really kind of honing on what they're doing. And he said he's seen a marked improvement in that regard. Now, they're not close to where he wants them to be at this point. And we'll see how much they've improved really in the next week and a half to 2 weeks. They still play in a row. They're going to play Nash Central, Fike, and Rocky Mount High. Mm-hmm. The three big teams that could potentially win this conference. So if we're sitting here 2 weeks from now and talk about 6-0 Northern Nash, I think that says a lot about this team. But we could be easily sitting here talking about 3-3 Northern Nash or 2-4 Northern Nash. And if that's the case, then Grover Battle is going to have a lot of work to do to get his team prepared for the playoffs.
And I think the scary thing, too, for him is both of those scenarios are entirely plausible. You just don't really know what you're going to get.
Definitely. But we'll be back next week to discuss what we saw on Tuesday and another very exciting Friday night of basketball hoops here on the Telegram Sports Channel.